Thank you so much for joining us for CBN NewsWatch. I'm Ephraim Graham. Ahead today, President Donald Trump calls for the immediate release of the FBI warrant used to search his Florida home. This comes after the Attorney General asked a court to unseal the details of the warrant Thursday.
The department filed the motion to make public the warrant and receipt in light of the former president's public confirmation of the search, the surrounding circumstances, and the substantial public interest in this matter.
Some say partisan politics are driving division in America's churches. One pastor believes it's because some professing Christians are not practicing what it means to follow Christ.
And I am concerned that politics, while it's important and has value in our world and society, politics, if we're not careful, becomes the ultimate source of power in our lives.
One Jewish organization has a pictorial history of the Holy Land.
This is the place where we can find printed photographs taken from early 20th century and all the way till the end of the printed material era.
See some of the photos coming up and later in sports. It's the faith of a champion. See the inspiring story of a Paralympic athlete who was the star in a Super Bowl commercial. All this and more are next.
This is CBN NewsWatch.
Tensions between former President Donald Trump and officials at the Justice Department continue to escalate days after FBI agents raided the former president's residence in Florida. Overnight, President Trump insisted the details of a warrant that led to federal agents searching his home be made public immediately. George Thomas has more on the brewing controversies in our top story.
In a message posted online late Thursday evening, the former president called for the immediate release of the FBI warrant used to search his Florida home, saying the raid was un-American, unwarranted, and politically motivated. Hours earlier, Attorney General Merrick Garland, who said he personally approved the search, asked a court to take the rare step of unsealing the details of the warrant, despite a pending investigation. Garland making a statement without taking questions from the media.
The department filed the motion to make public the warrant and receipt in light of the former president's public confirmation of the search, the surrounding circumstances, and the substantial public interest in this matter.
Garland had been facing demands to explain the circumstances surrounding the raid on Trump's Mar-a-Lago residence Monday.
The Attorney General has faced mounting pressure in the last few days from Republicans and Democrats alike.
Republicans have been rallying around Trump following the FBI raid, criticizing the Attorney General for personally approving it. South Carolina Senator Lindsey Graham tweeted, "The primary reason the Attorney General and FBI are being pushed to disclose why the search was necessary is because of the deep mistrust of the FBI and DOJ when it comes to all things Trump." Media reports say Trump was subpoenaed earlier this year for removing classified material from the White House as the government believed he was holding on to sensitive information with national security implications. According to the Washington Post, classified documents relating to nuclear weapons were among the items FBI agents were searching for at Trump's residence. A Trump attorney pushing back against accusations that the former president was hiding something, saying the Trump team has been very cooperative.
All documents requested were previously handed over. President Trump and his team painstakingly reviewed every single document at Mar-a-Lago and gave the government what they requested. If they needed any other documents, they could have just asked.
While some have focused on the details of the search warrant, others want to see the affidavit that gave the reason for why the warrant was issued.
The warrant itself is sort of the conclusions. It describes the parameters of the search. What we want to know is why the search was ordered, what was told to the court, and did they reveal that there had been cooperation with the first subpoena?
Now, with the former president himself encouraging the release of the warrant and the growing leaks to the media about why the search was ordered, Americans should soon learn more about why the FBI carried out an unprecedented raid on the home of a former president. George Thomas, CBN News.
In other news, the Centers for Disease Control is relaxing its quarantine and distancing guidelines for Americans. People will no longer have to stay 6 feet away from others and will not have to quarantine themselves if they come in contact with an infected person. This comes after an estimated 95% of Americans 16 and older have some level of immunity. Right now, there is an average of about 100,000 COVID-related cases and between 300 to 400 COVID deaths. Partisan politics are driving a wedge into America. The division, which was once focused in the political sphere, now branches out into all areas of life, including the church. Polling shows it's now among the top 3 reasons pastors want to walk away. So with the country just months away from another election, Abigail Robertson spoke with 2 faith leaders about how Christians can engage politically in a more Christ-like fashion.
The political hurt felt in a number of churches not only stresses ministers and leaders, it sets a bad example for non-believers. Pastor Eugene Cho claims a big part of this problem is a lack of discipleship within the body of Christ.
Does our faith in Christ, discipleship, does that inform our politics, or does our politics inform our faith?
Pastor Cho argues the church often looks outward when it comes to threats to the gospel, when we should instead be looking within.
I would contend that the greatest challenge is actually within the church, and that's cultural Christianity.
And he believes many professing Christians in the U.S. aren't practicing what it means to follow Christ.
It's when certain things supersede the lordship of Christ. And in my definition, that's really idolatry. And I am concerned that politics, while it's important and has value in our world and society, politics, if we're not careful, becomes the ultimate source of power in our lives.
Cho thinks the most important allegiance in our lives shouldn't be to a politician, but instead to Jesus Christ.
I think it's important for church leaders and pastors to really hear the alarm bells about the lack of discipleship. Perhaps we've allowed church members or even church institutions or churches to drink the Kool-Aid of allegiance to a particular political party.
Cho also warns not to demonize those who disagree with you.
Because as followers of Jesus, we are people of hope. And our hope is not contingent on a politics or a politician or a party or on trends, but it's contingent on the person of Jesus.
Justin Giboney, president of the AND campaign, works to help Christians be constructive leaders on both sides of the political aisle.
But also change how Christians view politics. We want Christians to be less partisan, less ideological, and focus on biblical principles first and foremost.
The AND campaign trains Christians in a nonpartisan way on how to engage in politics.
So I'm sure there'll be people that come out of there who are Republicans and some will be Democrats, but hopefully they'll be constructive leaders as they move forward.
Their training centers around the gospel and critiques both parties.
Coming into this next election, we're really going to be focused on Christians, not necessarily agreeing on everything, but being able to have constructive conversations and be constructive citizens rather than tearing everything down, which we see coming from both sides right now.
Giboney believes while it is important for Christians to vote and engage in politics, the key is to stand far enough away from either party to be able to provide honest critiques. Reporting from Washington, Abigail Robertson, CBN News.
Coming up, we're going to dig through the archives of one Jewish organization that has documented the rise and rebirth of the State of Israel. Stay with us for that. We'll be right back. Welcome back to CBN NewsWatch. More than 1 million photographs of Israel captured long before digital cameras, cell phones, or computers. A pictorial history of the Holy Land has been documented by a Jewish organization that also helped to develop Israel. Middle East Bureau Chief Chris Mitchell takes a look at this ongoing effort to chronicle the story of the Jewish state.
This may look like a storage room full of old files, although in reality, it's a treasure trove providing a pictorial history of Israel.
We're at the heart of the archive, at the photo archive. This is the place where we can find printed photographs taken from early 20th century and all the way till the end of the printed material era.
Decades before the Jewish state's birth, Karen Kayemet, La Israel, Jewish National Fund, or KKL-JNF, was breaking ground.
KKL-JNF is an organization that was established 120 years ago, aimed at purchasing land in Eretz Israel, right here in Israel, and also developing it, which means preparing the land after purchasing it for housing, building new communities, helping people get here so they can fully establish and inhabit these homes.
Efrat Sinai, head of KKL-JNF Photo Archive, says cameras have continued snapping history since the beginning.
KKL-JNF used to send photographers to different corners all over Israel so they can capture what is going on, the places that are being built and established, the faces of the pioneers, all that spirit of creating something new. And that's what created this unique and very important collection.
One of Sinai's favorites is this unique pose of David Ben-Gurion, Israel's first prime minister.
It's not something that we're used to seeing him with cool sunglasses. There's another picture, which I really like. It's David Ben-Gurion on the day of the Declaration of Independence, while he's still working out the draft of that declaration.
And a year later, on Israel's first birthday.
These are photographs from the very first year of the celebration in 1949. As you can see, bringing the Torah books. And what I wanted to show you was the military parades that were taking place in the big cities. We can see how everyone used to go out to the balconies and watch the parade. And you can also see the streets, the familiar streets of Jerusalem. This is King George Street, for example, taken in 1950.
And capturing Independence Day celebrations, picnics, and barbecues that go back decades. In addition to acquiring land, KKL-JNF built reservoirs, rehabbed rivers, prepared for housing, and is probably best known for planting trees.
Here we have photographs taken in Martyrs Forest. This is a forest that was planted in the early 1950s that has 6 million trees planted in to commemorate the 6 million Jews who perished in the Holocaust.
According to Sinai, it's estimated there were around 14,000 trees here when the Ottoman Turkish Empire ended more than 100 years ago.
Starting 1908, we started trying to plant trees here. And nowadays, we're talking about over 240 million trees planted all over Israel.
There's also historic Jerusalem, a photo overlooking the city from the Mount of Olives, the distribution of pasteurized milk to babies, the railway station from 1927, and the Western Wall in 1941, as well as photographs of Tiberias on the Sea of Galilee. Pioneers building agricultural communities called kibbutzim and moshavim, and glass plate negatives used before the gelatin kind.
So this was taken in 1924, and this is Tel Aviv. You can see the sand. So it really is a city that rose from the sands.
Throughout each year, KKL-JNF shares its historical highlights at exhibitions like this one in Jerusalem.
We're displaying photographs 2.5 meters wide, historical photographs of Jerusalem that were colorized.
KKL-JNF says many times when we look back at black and white photos, we tend to think the past was without color. But what they've done in this exhibit is use innovative colorization technology, along with research into the culture and fashion of the time, to color the photos and breathe new life into history. An exhibition also took place recently at the International Expo in Dubai. Many of the photos are now digitized, and the archive can be viewed online in Hebrew, and soon will be available in English. It currently has more than 1 million photos, and like the state itself, is still growing. Chris Mitchell, CBN News, Jerusalem.
And you can get more from the Middle East with Chris and his entire team on the CBN News channel by tuning into Jerusalem Dateline this evening at 8:30 Eastern. You can also find it on the CBN News app. Still ahead, it is the faith of a champion. See the inspiring story of a Paralympic athlete. That's next in sports. Stay with us. Welcome back to CBN NewsWatch for this sports update. Jessica Long was the real star of the Super Bowl last year. A Toyota commercial about the remarkable life of a Paralympic athlete aired during the big game and quickly went viral. CBN's Will Dawson has more on her inspiring story.
Jessica Long at this point really has her work cut out for her. She's only been swimming for 2 years.
I see the world record holder and I realize I'm gaining on her with each stroke. And there was at one point, we were 15 meters out of the wall, and I just said to myself, I did not come here to get second.
Jessica Long putting in some huge strokes towards the finish.
And we touched the wall so close, you had to look up at the scoreboard.
Jessica Long is going to have to extend for the wall. She does it! A Paralympic Games record.
But in that moment, I knew that I had won.
In 2004, at the age of 12, Jessica Long became the youngest Paralympian to win a gold medal. In fact, that year, she won 3.
There was 20-some thousand people who had just watched that race. So I was just trying to catch my breath, excited that my family saw it, and just that I couldn't wait to see them.
Jessica was born in Russia without her lower leg bones. It was there in a Siberian orphanage she was adopted by Steve and Beth Long, a couple from Baltimore, Maryland.
They saw a picture of me and another little boy, and I think it's so special and so incredible because they really felt on their hearts that we were the children that God wanted them to adopt.
At 18 months, the Longs made the difficult decision to amputate Jessica's lower legs, the first of 25 painful surgeries.
You didn't have to tell a girl with no legs that I knew I was different. I was missing half of my body. But I really had incredible parents who really taught me that, God has always had a plan for me.
That plan made sense in the water.
Every Sunday after church, we would go over to my grandparents' house and spend time with them. And they had a pool in their backyard, and I would eat as fast as I could just so I could be the first one in the pool. And then I would be the last one out.
At the age of 10, Jessica joined the local swim team, and while the pool made sense, she questioned why God made her different.
I remember being really angry. I remember not wanting anything to do with God, and I was going in for surgeries every 3 months. And all I ever heard was God made me this way, and I was like, I don't think I like that.
That anger fueled her competitive drive. In 2006 at the World Championships in South Africa, 14-year-old Jessica won 9 gold medals, beat out fellow swimmer Michael Phelps for an ESPY award, and received worldwide recognition.
I think swimming really just became my identity because going into the 2008 Paralympics, I didn't perform as well as I would have liked to. I was the world record holder in the 100 breaststroke, but I got the bronze medal. And one of the first things that I asked my parents, do you guys still love me? And they're like, what are you talking about?
Her surface relationship with God gave way to her identity as a swimmer.
I think in a way I felt like I could do it all on my own, and I totally could, right? I was the one going through surgeries. I was the one walking in 2 prosthetic legs, and I was my legs hurt me every single day. And I didn't even want to rely on my parents, let alone someone that I couldn't even see. I was winning awards. I was on red carpets in LA. I was, getting sponsorships.
Over the next 6 years, Jessica racked up over 50 gold medals and 18 world records. At the London Paralympic Games in 2012, Jessica realized something was missing.
I just won 5 gold. Life was great. I'd had a commercial with Coca-Cola. There were so many things, again, that were happening. But still, I just remember feeling really empty and just really unsatisfied, which I was like, why? I've done everything that I've ever wanted to in this swimming journey, this swimming career. How do I still feel empty? How do I still feel unsatisfied?
While training for London, Jessica attended a women's Bible study. And over time, she knew she needed something to change.
I think I was just tired of being angry. I think I was tired of carrying all this weight. I think, nothing was still satisfying my soul. And that's all I'd ever heard my whole life, right? Is God is the one. He's the one that can fulfill and satisfy all of your needs.
One night in the summer of 2013, she surrendered her life to God.
And I walked up and prayed with a woman that I had known and just was like, I really want to give him my whole heart. I want to pray. I don't want to question anymore. And it was a really special moment. I really do know for a fact, I gave him all of me. And I just remember feeling so weightless and so just a part of God's family for the first time, really a part of it. I feel so much gratitude and love towards just everything that God's given me, just so thankful.
Today, Jessica is married
in training for this year's Paralympic Games in Tokyo. She even starred in a Toyota Super Bowl commercial. As one of the most decorated Paralympic athletes of all time, Jessica is confident in her ability, but even more secure in her identity.
My identity is in Christ, and I really hope that I show that with just my character, the way that I do things on the pool deck. And I know I couldn't do it without God, so I do really rely on Him. And when I'm swimming, I do picture Him next to me, and that like I'm still using the talent that He has given me. And I think that I'm still really living my purpose, and that He is really proud of me. And I would say every athlete or anyone has probably ever felt this, just not satisfied, right? It's not working. You're not satisfied. It's never going to be enough. But God is enough, and that's really hard, and it's all on your own time, of course. But just know that God's waiting for you with His arms open, and He can't wait to have you a part of His family.
Stay with us. Your Friday Faithful's coming up next. We'll be right back. Time now for your Friday Faithful. I want to leave you with this thought as we wrap another work week together. You are not your profession, your position, or your possessions. You are a child of God in process and prayerfully progressing with each and every day. With that word, be sure to make this a fabulous and faith-filled Friday and have yourself a wonderful weekend. That is going to do it for this edition of CBN NewsWatch. I want to remind you, you can always find more of our news programs on the CBN News channel. You can find them there at any time, as well as online at cbnnews.com. We would love to know what you think about the stories you've seen here today. You can email us. That address is right there at the bottom of your screen. That is newswatch@cbn.com. And of course, you can always reach out and touch us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. We'd love to hear from you. We hope you'll join us again right here next time. Make it a fabulous Friday, everybody. We'll see you Monday.